Hello, welcome to my October wrap-up. This one's going to be long, so get ready for this. But it was a month where I read a lot of shorter books, so I did end up reading 16 books, which is like high for me. So this will probably be one of the longer ones you're ever gonna see here. But anyways, let's start with this. Look at this. Anyways, let's start with the first one I finished. So I did, girls. Okay, so the first book that I finished in October was I listened to the audiobook of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. You know, it's short. It's kind of actually shorter than I expected it to be, but I also read it as a kid, so it's hard to remember all of that. But anyways, yes, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. It's pretty much the same as what you remember, except, you know, in the original, she's got like silver shoes, and there's the gold. It's a gold road instead of like a yellow road. They did change some stuff, obviously, for the movie because we had Technicolor and they want to show it off. That's why I switched it to red. That's the history that I know about it. But I just thought I just give it a 3.5. Like, it's really it's a really quick read, not a whole lot to it. I remember thinking, was the courage that was given to the lion, I was just like, was it, you know, some booze? You know how we like to refer to it as liquid courage sometimes. So I was just like, what did he give him? Because it was obviously kind of all really seemed very placebo effect type stuff. Everybody had these things, they just didn't believe they had these things. So, you know, a lot of just believe in yourself, really, is what I got from that. But anyways, you know, it's a classic, went by really quick. And yeah, it was just kind of a reread. So after that, we completely swerved from this like kids book, at least I believe it's a kids book. We swerved from that kids book to Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone. And this one, if you have read any Sierra Simone books, you know what she's about. Like, it's ranges from a little bit fetishy to very deep in there. So this one, there is a guy that owns a fetish club. The main character is trying to get a job through his family relations. So like they're connected through family somehow, not by blood, that's important, but they are connected through like family ties. And so the main character gets a job at this club to be the bodyguard. Okay, and so there's this whole thing about how he is going to be seeing all this stuff going down at the sex club, basically, but at the fetish club, but he's a virgin. And so he's just like, I think it, you know, it hits him a little different because he has not actually done any of this yet. So basically it is him kind of becoming basically the main character kind of becomes a sub to his boss. And then you kind of get like, and it goes through that whole process of how he like gets more used to that idea, because he's not, you know, he's like kind of coming to terms with it. Like, he already knows he's bisexual, but he hasn't like experienced the full range of that yet, I guess. And like, so he's, you know, it's a learning curve for him. And so you do like see that side, which I thought was the good part about it. Like, you know, that it showed like his perspective of like getting comfortable. But yeah, so then the end of it kind of takes a twist, and so where you can kind of see where this is going to go from here, because it is part of a series. And so far, I think the next one's called Honeycut. Haven't gone there yet, but I do believe it's supposed to be like a trilogy. That's what I know so far. But there's that one, and then I guess I'll skip forward because I also did end up listening. I listened to that one on audio, and then I also listened to the audiobook. Well, I gave that one 3 stars. And then I also listened after that one. So I don't know if you're supposed to listen to this one first. and then do it, but I went out of order, I guess. And after listening to that first audiobook, then I went to the prequel novella, I guess. I don't know, I feel like it made more sense to me having read it after, but it explains the backstory of the club owner's fiance, because he does have a fiance, and that is a thing that you find out. I want to say, I don't remember where exactly in that book you find it out, but it's kind of her story. So if you read Salt in the Womb first, then you would already know this man had a fiance. But then the main character in Salt Kiss did not know this information. So depending on which order you read it in, then like for me that was a reveal in that, so it could be considered a spoiler if you're reading the first one in the series first versus the prequel, if that makes sense. But anyways, I also gave that one 3 stars. Like, I mean, they're very much like, I mean, they're even listed as erotica here on Storygraph, which is the one I use. I don't use Goodreads, but I mean, they're straight up listed as erotica, so you know what you're signing up for. And that they do deliver. Sierra Simone did deliver, so there's all of that. And it's basically, there's this series so far, out of those 2 books, it's kind of the same of like people coming to grips with their like sexual preferences, basically. So, you know, yeah, basically it's people coming into terms with their kinks and stuff. So that's those. And then I listened to the audiobook of Our Crooked Hearts, and I think this book was just kind of not for me so much. Like, I don't think I necessarily vibe with Melissa Albert's writing, because this is now the second book I've tried out from her. I still haven't finished reading the bad ones, but like the writing is just going so slow for me. But I don't know if it's gonna happen the same, because in this one I feel like in a lot of horror books, I mean, this one wasn't even really like a super horror ebook, but it went a little, it was all about like witch stuff, so it was kind of more like fantasy or whatever. But this one, it was a teenager named Ivy, and she is having trouble remembering some stuff. Basically, like, there's this whole kid that she doesn't remember, but he's like, everyone's like, oh, you just like bailed on him and da-da-da. And she's like, what are y'all even talking about? Like, she realizes that there are like gaps in her memory, and then there's like this whole conflict with her mother, and she kind of like catches her mom doing like witchy stuff. And then, so, you know, some people are like, oh no, it's just like new age white woman shit. But then, like, it kind of turns out to not maybe just be that. So there's a whole process of basically like rediscovering who she even really is, in terms of like through her relationship with her mother. So it was kind of slow in the beginning, which is, I think, is why I didn't like it as much, and I just found her to be really kind of fucking annoying. It is YA, and I think that was kind of the disconnect for me, because I was kind of like, I just kind of didn't vibe with the characters as much. But it did kind of pop off toward the end. Like, it does get more interesting and like action filled. So if you're not as into the characters, at least the end part helped me see through to the end, because it was at least interesting in that way, because there was stuff going on. But anyway, so I just gave it 3 stars. I think I don't think I'll be that tempted to pick up another book by this author, just because now I'm realizing that her writing style isn't quite vibe for me. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just, I don't know. I like stuff that's got a little bit more oomph to it. A little extra. Just a little bit. But anyway, so, I don't know. It was alright. So, that one had 3 stars. And then, this book I did like. The next one I finished was The Crimson Moth. And so for this book, as you may have seen doing the rounds online, this one, The Crimson Moth, it's also called Heartless Hunter. In the US, I believe, like, I think this is the UK name. But this book is about a witch that is in hiding. Her name is Rune. That's the, like, pinky-haired girl. But she is hiding in a society where everyone's trying to kill the witches now. And so she has to hide her identity as a witch. So she has, like, she can't, like, they use blood in this magical system in order to do the magic. And so, obviously, how are you gonna get blood? Like, the normal way that they would do it is with, like, cutting. But if you do that, then it leaves like a scar. Like, and it's not like a normal scar. It's a scar that makes it obvious that you did magic with that blood. So, given that situation, she has to find workarounds. So instead, it's kind of nasty, but she's using period blood. She's using period blood, which means there's not as much blood that she can use in the first place, so she's having trouble even, like, learning how to use her magic because she has to use, like, such small quantities of it at a time. And it's not as fresh, obviously, because she's storing it, because otherwise, you know, that only comes once a month. So she has to, like, really ration it out. But anyway, so that is how she hides that she's a witch, on top of also trying to hide that she is not only a witch, she is the Crimson Moth, as the title says. She is the one that is trying to save other witches from the witch hunters. And so she has to hide that identity as well. So it's 2 layers. So she's trying to hide that by pretending to be like an airhead socialite. And she plays the role pretty well. People are pretty convinced that she's just obsessed with fashion stuff. She's got all fancy dresses. She's rich. She's like, you know, so people don't think much of her in that way. They don't think she's smart enough to do this Crimson Moth shit. Okay, so she has deflected in every kind of way. But the story happens because somebody finally, like, suspects her. And so I'm like, oh, was she just playing dumb? And like, so that kind of sets the witch hunter off on her. And so it ends up being that she tries to basically, like, romance with this witch hunter. He's doing it to try to find any scars on her to see if he can prove that she's a witch. And she's doing it to try to get information from him in order to try to save more witches. So they're both kind of playing each other. And so it gets messy from that. But the story was really good, and I liked it. The end got really intense. Like, some just huge shit happens at the end. So I'm excited for the sequel. And let's see. I gave this one 4 stars. But yeah, I'll definitely be continuing this series. I was into it, so that one definitely recommend. Okay, and then after that, for Halloween challenge, I ended up rereading What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. And I'm just gonna say up front, I'm not the biggest T. Kingfisher fan. I know that their work is, like, a big deal right now, but I think I prefer their fantasy work over the horror stuff. The horror stuff's putting me to sleep. So I was bored. I was bored with this book. There's a lot of just antics, just, like, talking about completely irrelevant shit. Like, this is a House of Usher retelling, and honestly, just stick to the original. Like, this, I didn't need this version. It's boring. There is some, like, funny parts, because, you know, that's what T. Kingfisher's good at, adding in little bits of, like, comedy, a little haha, a little hee-hee, but it's overall just boring. It's boring, and honestly, I felt like Mexican Gothic did it better. because there's like mushroomy shit in this one too, and I'm like, out of the 2 mushroomy books I've read, I prefer Mexican Gothic. So this one, at least it's short. It is short, so if you want to give it a go, you do that. I mean, a lot of people do like it. I just personally do not. But I gave it 3 stars because, you know, it's not horrible. It's just not for me. So that's that. And now that I've read it physically and listened to an audiobook, neither version made it better. So same. Okay, and then after that, I got a copy of Hidden Pictures from the library, and I also listened to the audiobook simultaneously to like get through it really fast. This book is bingeable. It's very easy to get through it very quickly. I did have some concerns when I first started the book that it was giving like hating on atheists a little bit. It was giving that vibe, and then other people have kind of, when they were reading it, were also picking up on some other stuff that made it seem not so great. And then but I feel like once you get further in the book, you realize that that's not really like the goal of the book, to make these kinds of messages, and so and that it's just kind of in there. So I don't think the book was trying to make a message on any of those stuff. So if you want to read it and you're like worried about that, don't be. Like, after you get past like the first part where you think it's gonna do some sideways stuff, it really doesn't. So there was some creepy stuff in this book. Like, there was one scene that I was like, they got me. But so this one, there is a babysitter girl who well, she's like their nanny, I guess. She wants to be a living nanny for these rich people because she needs a job after getting out of rehab. And so you can imagine how that goes in a horror book. They you know, they're just like, you must be on drugs again and all this stuff. So she has to deal with all that, but kind of end up having a lot of conflict because of that. But these people are crazy, and you kind of get a vibe that they're a little crazy in the beginning, and then yeah, toward the end you really kind of find out what they're doing. But anyway, so yeah, this girl gets hired to watch their kid and while they're working and stuff, and you know, she thinks it's gonna be a normal job. It ends up not being a normal job to say the least. You know, it's kind of like she thinks like her cottage, because she has a cottage in the back of her house, because they're rich enough to have a freaking cottage in the back that used to be a shed or something. But everyone's like, oh, it's haunted, somebody died there before, and it's crazy. And then this kid draws the most unhinged shit. And this is one where I do recommend getting a physical copy if you can, because the pages that they describe are also like drawn out. Like, you can see these unhinged little kid drawings, and it's like stuff with people getting like dragged, like they're murdery stuff. It is intense. These drawings are intense, they're unhinged, and they're creepy. So if you read that one, definitely find those pictures, because it adds to it a lot. You need the paintings, because the book does rely on telling stories through pictures, because the kid can't communicate everything that's going on. So this is like the form of communication. But it's creepy. There's like dead people trying to communicate and stuff, like. And then there's just like this unhinged old lady that just says some wackadoodle stuff. But anyways, it's kind of sad what happened to her. But yeah, I mean, I was also a little bit annoyed with the MC in this book, because that girl, I'm like, girl, you gotta have some common sense. I mean, I get that she's young, but she's lacking in common sense. Because I'm just like, well, you can't just say stuff like this to people. Of course they're gonna think you're nuts. Like, that's very obvious. Like, you have, like, protect yourself a little bit from this. But girl didn't have the common sense, and so yeah, it got more messed up for her than it had to be. But that's that was my main complaint with it. But anyways, yeah, it was very bingeable, and yeah, creepy. So that was 3.5 stars. Okay. After that, I finished Five Broken Blades, which I definitely talked about in my vlog. This one, it follows a lot of different perspectives of people that are good at, like, unaliving people, being spies, like, you know, just doing shady stuff. Doing shady stuff as hell. But anyway, so a group gets banded together of a few people in order to carry out a plot to kill this God King, as they're referring to him. And so people really think that he is not able to be killed, but they're on a mission to do it anyways. And so some of these characters have like really sad and messed up backstories, but then all these characters, like, they all have interesting, like, there is a good range of personalities in this little group, and there's definitely some funny stuff that happens, but then there's also some pretty messed up stuff, and like the end of it was ridiculous, and I feel like the end of this is gonna make some people mad. But it's also just, the fuck, the ending of this is so just what the fuck. So it caught me by surprise, so I was happy about that, because that doesn't always happen anymore. But I gave it 4 stars because I was amused. Like, is this gonna be the best book you ever read? No. But is it amusing? I would say it was entertaining, yes. So yeah, 4 stars. And there's gonna be a sequel for that one, and I will be reading that one. So yeah, Five Broken Blades was worth the effort to read it. And then after that, Tales of the Celestial Kingdom was a series of short stories that are bound together, and there's like a couple set before the first book, because this is short stories that are connected to the Celestial Kingdom series, which it's Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior. That duology. So these are connected to that. And so they do have the stories of like her parents, the main character's parents from those. Those are some of the short stories, and I thought those were the more entertaining ones of them. And then they had like some in the middle that I just kind of didn't care about that much. Like some of these I did not feel like we needed, to be honest. And then the last little set, because we did get an epilogue for the Heart of the Sun Warrior, which I thought was okay. Like, I don't know, like, we could have done without all of this, because some of it was already kind of referenced in the books anyways. And then the difference is that you kind of get POVs of other characters that you didn't get in the books, because it's all from her perspective. But it did give you perspective of other characters, like her mom, her dad, like both princes, or both love interests. And then and yes, so yeah. But yeah, the epilogue was kind of cute, but it was also like kind of like, obviously they're gonna be fine. I don't know. None of it was needed, but I read it and I gave it 3.25 overall, because yeah, there were some good ones, some that I was like, I don't even remember this character, to be honest. Yeah, but now I guess at least I have read as far as I know everything in that series, which I did really like the duology, although she picked the wrong guy. I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. There was a love triangle, she picked the wrong dude. But I mean, I understand why, but I still feel like she picked the wrong dude. Anyways, so and then after that, also in my vlog, I read A Court of Sugar and Spice, and that was unhinged. It was unhinged. This is a Nutcracker retelling, kind of, but with there's like two sisters, and they end up going to Fairy with they find like a Nutcracker in their house. They accidentally like bleed on it or something, and then it comes to life, and they're like, oh my god. And then for some reason they're just really obsessed with finding out about his dick and fucking the fairies and just having a lot of sex. So that was an adventure. Like, they did some stuff in there when they got to Fairy, because they're trying to get to a fountain. They're trying to get to like this like magical water fountain thing or whatever that's gonna help these guys stay as Fairy and not get turned back into like Nutcrackers. So the book is like their journey of trying to get there, but you know, there's a lot of sex stops. This book is so unhinged. But I thought that like the main characters were kind of funny, even though they're definitely ridiculous. There's some amusing parts about this. And this one, like one of the fairies, his cum is a different flavor every time and stuff like that. So there's like a whole thing about all that. Like, there's some magical sex shit going on here, and I was entertained because it was creative, I'll give you that. But so I gave that 4 stars, and there are more books in that series, and so I will be continuing because that was some interesting stuff. But if you want more information, definitely my blog. Okay, and then after that I read Vita Nostra. I think I vlogged that one too. But this book was weird. This character, this girl, when she's still kind of like a kid, she meets this like rando dude that tells her that she has to like do whatever he's like telling her to do, otherwise like bad shit's gonna happen to her. And then when she does it, she coughs up coins, but then if she doesn't do it, like stuff happens to her mom and stuff, like they'll just like randomly need to, like, stuff will happen to her family, and they'll need like the doctor and stuff. It's crazy. So he basically starts controlling her life, kind of, and tells her what to do. And so he like forces her to go to this school where she basically learns shit that doesn't make sense to do, and she basically becomes less of a human. She becomes less human through this process, and it's really weird, the school, and people want to leave, but then they basically threaten them to not leave, and it's a mess. It is weird as hell, but I was entertained. It was weird, and I was entertained, and there's a sequel, and I'm gonna listen to the sequel too. But yeah, at the beginning, like, I was just like, what the hell? Like, if you're just like casually listening to it, because I think I was listening to it while I was working, I just would pause sometimes and be like, what? So that's the vibe. It is in the dark academic category, I believe, but because she's going to school where they're doing really weird stuff, and they basically expect them to be like obsessed with their studies. So it's really intense in some parts. But that was that one, and I gave it 4 stars. After that, I read a not very good book that was short, luckily. I read Spookily Yours, which is a like Halloween romance, and this one was just not that good. Like, I did not vibe with this. There was just a lot of details that did not make sense. They didn't add up, and then there was just, the conflict was completely made up out of nothing. Like, there was no, like, the guy, so the plot is she finds a cat. She needs like a cat because her old cat died, so she needs a new familiar. And so she goes to get a cat, and she ends up picking up a cat that is actually a demon. And so, a demon prince. So, she, like, for some reason he couldn't talk before, but then he could talk to her, and then she, turns him back into a guy, but he's a demon. And then, but then it's this whole weird, stupid shit of he can't stay with her but he can. It doesn't, I'm like, it was messy. Like, the plot was messy, there were big holes in it. I vlogged it, but I will not be continuing, because there is a second book with her sister's romance with the other dude, and no. With the Demon King, and like, no, I'm not doing that. This was not a well-written book. Like, I mean, I guess the writing itself was fine, but like, there were so many details that did not align, did not make sense, and just big ol' holes. Big ol' holes, like, the plot is non-existent. Like, you just want to write like a cute vignette, and it tried to blow it out, and it didn't make sense. So anyway, they get that one 2.5. Yeah, no. Never again. I'm never reading something by this author again. Okay, and then after that, I read Sleep Like Death, which, I think it's the same author who did Cinderella is Dead? Is that what it's called? Yeah, Cinderella is Dead. I think that one did the rounds a while back. But this one is a Snow White retelling, but if you combine Snow White with Rumpelstiltskin, then you get this book, which I generally like this book. I was a little annoyed with the MC because she was kind of, I guess, doing typical young people stuff. It is a YA. So, you know, she did a little bit of the dumb, but yeah, there's plenty of action. People do die in this book, and basically in this book, everyone in the kingdom is doing deals with Rumpelstiltskin, and then the one her mom made, that she comes to find out that she's talking into the mirror, like per the usual Snow White, excuse me. She's talking to that mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all shit. But the reason she's talking to the mirror is for Rumpelstiltskin type reasons, so that it's all combined. But basically they call him the Knight in this book. But you know, if you're familiar with the Rumpelstiltskin story at all, which if you're any kinds of old, you know that story. So it's pretty obvious. And then at the end, I don't know, the part that I didn't care about was that at the end they try to make it like it's a reveal that he was Rumpelstiltskin, and unless you're a kid, you already know this. So, I don't know. It was still fun to read. I mean, you know, it's not like fun, because there are some messed up parts. Well, there's a lot of messed up parts, okay? But, there's a lot of deals gone wrong, obviously, because that's Rumpelstiltskin's whole MO. And so, her mom's deal with Rumpelstiltskin is the main issue in this story. It's messed up. It's real messed up. He really has it out for them. So, I was entertained, but yeah, know that the MC is a teenager, and the MC is doing teenagery bullshit. So that part annoyed me, but overall, it was a good book. So I gave this one 4 stars, because it is fun. It is a fun read. Like, if you like retellings, I think you'll like this if you can get past the MC being young. After that, after that, I listened to Lucifer's Daughter, which is by Kel Carpenter, because I had wanted to, after doing I think in the last wrap-up, it was that I had gone through the Grimm Brotherhood series, and I liked that one. That was entertaining. But then this one basically followed kind of the same plot, but not as well done, I thought. So for this, like she finds out that she's like the daughter of Satan or whatever, of Lucifer, and it's just kind of the same. So, and she has a pet raccoon. She has a pet raccoon, which was weird. But I don't know, this wasn't like, I didn't feel like I needed to continue with this. I mean, I didn't DNF it, but I finished the first one, and I don't think I'm gonna continue the series because I was like, I've already read this story in a different font basically, and so I didn't need it again. And so that's really all I have to say about that one. I gave that 3 stars. After that, I listened to another bad book. So I listened to the audiobook of So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison, and I could not stand these characters. I could not stand these characters at all. It was so stupid, so avoidable. Like, don't follow your friends into bad situations. And if they don't want to leave, cut your losses. Seriously. Just fucking no. Drag her ass out if you care that much. Fucking no. This girl, the MC, was hanging out with this girl that honestly is just not a reliable person to be trusting for anything. She's Delulu to the max. And it was just so much nonsense. Like, they are not good friends to each other, in my opinion. So this one, they go to a party. These 2 girls, 2 dipshits, go to a party where there are vampires. And since they ignored every red flag, every obvious, very painfully obvious reason that they should have just tried to fucking leave, the friend the whole time is like, no, we shouldn't leave, nah. Like, girl, what? Are you really this stupid? Are you really that dumb? Do you really, like, I mean, she's a rich girl, but like, damn, there's still, like, at what point do you realize that you don't need to be here? So anyways, they don't leave. They don't leave. And then they get turned into vampires. And I feel like the whole book, the whole time, she's like, can we just leave? Can we go? And the friend's like, no. And then, you know, and then they turn into vampires. And then she's still just like, oh, you think you're better than me because you'd rather eat animals than to eat people? I'm like, y'all are frenemies. You're not friends. This is bullshit. Ah! Amethyst, what the fuck? Amethyst, your tail was on fire, dude. So this is her tail after the fire went out, and the whole time she did not care one little bit. We turned that candle off. Amethyst! Oh my god, my cat caught her tail on fire in the candle. Oh my god. Amethyst. How? Oh my Jesus, child, hold on. Jesus, Amethyst, that was so scary. And okay, anyways. Oh, it's stinky. Anyways, okay, so now we're at the last book that I read, and it was My Gingerbread Ever After. And this one, this guy comes, well, let me start over. So in this one, there is a witch that lives in a gingerbread house, and she makes charmed candies. And then instead of, I guess this customer comes in and instead of selling her some candy, she sells her a curse. Except it's like a DIY curse, I guess, because she just gives it to her. She's like, you just imagine what you want and then it'll happen to them, basically. Except she chose to make the prince of their kingdom was the dude she was sleeping with, I guess, and she turned his dick into a candy cane. So, or like it was candy cane coated or whatever. So, except it creeped up slowly, so he kept banging around town while as his dick slowly turned into a candy cane, and he just didn't stop until basically it reached the point where it was just stuck in candy cane form. So he had a permanent candy cane erection, and that's when he goes barging into the witch's cottage, telling her like, hey, you need to fix this. I'm like, well, now you're concerned. But anyway, so basically, him and the witch do end up doing it in the end. And it's one of those. But, it's a very entertaining. It's a very easy read. And it's their little adventure of her like dragging him through the woods and basically doing extra shit because he's an asshole. And then in order to get the components, in order to uncurse him. And yeah, through this process they like become close and all this stuff, and then yeah, they break his curse and all that, you know, as expected. And yeah, it's their romance. So that's the holiday romances that I've been reading so far have been unhinged. Yeah, unhinged. So I was amused. It was very hilarious. It was funny. And I gave it 3.5. It's not the best shit you're ever gonna read. The prince was really fucking annoying. I don't care how hot he is. He's a douchebag. So anyways, 3.5, but I would absolutely read something by this author again because that was amusing as hell. Yeah, but so here we are at the end. That was all 16 books. I explained probably somewhat poorly because I've read so many at this point that I cannot remember every detail anymore. Some of these I was like, hold up, I don't remember. But yeah, there you go. There you have it. That's it. I need to go tend to my cat because she just burned off part of her tail fluffs. She seems to be okay though. Only got the ends before I knocked it off.